to New Orleans, you ought to go see the Mardi Gras. If you go to New Orleans, you ought to go see the Mardi Gras.
Happy Mardi Gras, and welcome to another episode of Tales from the Parade Route. Tonight, we're going, instead of with a super crew, we're going with New Orleans' only micro crew. We have Janine and Brett here from Tit Rex. How y'all doing today?
Good.
All right.
Thanks for having us.
So tell us a little bit about the origins of the parade. From what I understand, it was like a group of friends and artists and teachers and whatnot.
Yeah, I mean, it was just a group of friends in New Orleans, basically a few years after Katrina, right?
Yeah.
In the aftermath. We know, like any origin story, there's like the story of this, and then there's like a little bit of a backstory. The little bit of the backstory is a good friend of mine, Greg Fuchs, that I went to high school with in New Orleans. After we all graduated college, he ended up moving to New York City, and then he kept saying we should, we should make those floats like we made as kids, but like adult versions, and do them like in an art gallery, have an art show.
Yeah.
So that kind of was like floating in the ether for a while, but we never really acted on it. And then after Katrina, different set of people here, like...
Mostly our friends in Mid-City that we'd hang out with and drink.
Yeah.
It was like, yeah. It was like a drinking...
Lots
of drinking
and talking and...
We had a really great screened-in back porch where we lived on Main Street in Mid-City. And there, a million ideas were discussed there. This was the one that we actually did something with, But then, I guess Jeremy Yuslam and Jonathan Trevies and Todd and some other key people, they really started, like, okay, let's actually do this. But the very first year, there was still that notion of putting them in a gallery. And Jonathan was a member of the Front Collective that has the gallery at the end of St. Claude. So the very first year, we actually did roll, and like every float went on.
And there were only like 12 floats.
There were only 12 floats, and they all went onto
an art gallery.
Art gallery and like on the shelf. And
everybody that made a float in the first year became board members of the parade of Tit Rex. So that's how the board got started as well.
But then there was also, the very first year, we still had the notion that all the floats are going to be pulled by remote-controlled cars. So
yeah, that's how it originated, that we were going to pull them by remote-controlled cars.
We all bought remote-controlled cars. I remember going out to the whatever you call it, the Pontchartrain Center, or something like all the way out in Kenner by the lake.
Yeah, Pontchartrain Center.
Yeah, it's like for some reason they had a sale on remote control cars. I don't know why you would have that.
It was probably one of those like Christmas deal things.
Yeah, so I went out all the way out there and got the car. We, where they used to have the daiquiri shop at the corner of Bienville and Carrollton, which is now Mr. Ed's or whatever.
Yeah.
After Katrina, I guess it was just still like an empty parking lot. We all went out there with our floats, the remote-controlled cars, and we quickly realized a couple of things, that those cars have no torque because they're not designed to pull anything. They're just designed, and all the signals got crossed of the radio frequencies. So basically, the first year, I think there was one member of the crew that actually made his float so lightweight that he did actually pull it with a remote control car. But everybody else, we really quickly realized that wasn't going to work.
They're mostly handheld at this point, though, right?
Yeah.
So you pull.
And in the beginning, we did fishing line, so it would be kind of an invisible pulley. So it would seem like they were just floating, and we were pulling them, but you couldn't see the string. And then over the years, we decided that I mean, maybe there's a few people that still do that, but that was problematic because as the crowds grew and people on the sidelines, a lot of people want to see the floats, and if they can't
Right.
see the
The
fishing
good
line,
thing
when
was
we
you
stop,
could-
they cross, and then they're tripping over the floats, and like a float could
Right.
get destroyed, or they're so delicate.
Yeah.
So now people tend to use like thicker ropes and leashes and all sorts of like things that like are lit up so that doesn't happen.
We
But
had caught this previous year, I guess right where you come out of, what is that, an old firehouse?
an old
And
firehouse.
I guess everybody was carrying them across the street onto the neutral ground there.
yeah,
So,
we were lining
I
get
don't
up.
them
know,
so-
like, when I saw them, I think everybody was holding them in their hands, but.
Yeah, some people
Yeah,
you
well,
can
they line
carry
them
them
up
out.
on that
how it
neutral
goes
ground.
After that.
Yeah,
On the
the-
neutral ground, then we have to. Janine goes out the night before and chalks out all the
No, I do
spots
it in the morning.
for the morning, and then, yeah, that's the lineup.
People carry them from the firehouse and put them in their spot on the neutral ground. It's all chalked off, and then we process once the parade starts.
Although last year it rained and like the chalk.
Not this
Oh.
year,
Did
but
we?
last year.
Oh, last year.
You guys said that this is the idea you ended up going with. Do you remember any of the other potentials that you guys could have gone with?
Regarding a Mardi Gras parade, no, this was the one and only Mardi Gras parade idea. We could not possibly remember any other idea.
Oh, you're talking about on the porch?
Yeah.
Oh well, you know, there's been a
We should
million.
have had it like this,
There's been a,
Yeah.
so we could remember them.
there's been a million ideas. They weren't all.
They definitely weren't Mardi Gras parades.
They weren't all carnival related.
They were all genius at the
Stuff
time.
is-
Yeah,
They were
Genius.
genius. Ways to
And
make millions of
money
dollars.
making genius ideas. You know.
Yeah.
I can definitely imagine those conversations.
Been in a
Right.
few.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And this was right after Katrina, where everyone was kind of like, you know, amped up in a way that. I
So,
don't know.
how'd y'all decide on the name T Rex?
That's
Did Jeremy come up with that?
probably Jeremy. I mean, you know, it just T as in like little, as in
Petite.
petite,
Right.
as in,
Cajun.
you know, especially Cajun, like, you know, Bobby
Still have-
Abraham's son is T-Bob.
It's T Bob. Yeah.
Still have to correct people all the time. Say Tit Rex, Tit Rex, Tit Rex.
I mean, it's like a slight, like, you know, it's like almost wasn't, it's supposed to be pronounced T-Rex, but then, of course, there is kind of that pun.
Right.
And then the pun, too, of, like, T-Rex being the most giant dinosaur.
Yeah.
But, you know, so it's kind of like, but the funny thing is, you know, we're basically saying Little Rex because it just sounded the coolest. But in a lot of ways, especially from Jeremy's perspective, it was more a reaction against Endymion than T-Rex, or than Rex, you know.
Yeah, we weren't really
Like
responding to
like
Rex.
Endymion had gotten so gigantic. We're
Yeah,
like,
all
well,
those parades. There was a few years I remember right around that time where it seemed like one year Endymion would be like, "We have the longest float with the Pontchartrain Beach float."
Right.
Then
Which
you know,
is-
like
We have.
Bacchus would come back and be like, "Oh no,
Right.
we now have the biggest
Yeah.
float."
Yeah.
You know, then
Yeah.
Muses would jump out and be like, "Nope, we got the biggest." Orpheus, you know, Tux, all of them were fighting back and forth.
Right.
That's exactly
Who
what
had
we
the
were
longest
not.
float?
We
And-
were going the complete opposite
Right.
direction.
Yeah.
We thought it would be really funny to go to minimize the parade and make it small, and a very small footprint on the street, and everything kind of handmade and low
Yeah, we were-
tech. And
Really could have been more Mendymion, but
Yeah, we thought
T-Rex sounded better, but kept waiting for like somebody to start Mendymion, and then we could have like a Purple Rain type of situation, you know?
And I mean, everybody likes miniatures. You know, I mean, you
Well,
see
a
Yeah.
lot
like
of
them.
people from here too have made those shoebox
Exactly.
floats.
Right. So what
I
I
Exactly.
remember
found,
doing them in grade school.
right.
Yeah.
So what I found out was like, yeah, because I have somebody I teach with, like who grew up here, actually grew up in, we didn't grow up. Yeah, I was going to say Shellnut, but that might not be right. he grew up in New Orleans area, and like a couple of days after the parade, he saw me and he was like, Brett, and he was like, best parade ever. But it was because he grew up making those floats,
Yeah.
you know. But what I realized kind of was like, yeah, everybody loves miniatures, like everybody loves model trains, everybody loves dioramas. I mean, of course not everybody, but you should. So basically, like the people that grew up making them, like get it on an extra level, and then even the people that didn't, you know, it's
I mean,
still
Yeah,
most
it's easy to catch on.
Kids
Yeah.
love it, even though it's not a kids' parade. We always say that because we deal with adult themes often. So, but you know, kids go to Krewe of Tit and see
Yeah.
crazy stuff. So
still kind of a
Krewe of
kid.
Tit
ours isn't
The
as
crazy thing
anywhere
though
near
is
as
Or-
raunchy as Krewe of Tit,
The
but
crazy thing
we
is-
definitely like we're not a kids' parade.
we're not a kids parade, but the
13 -ish.
kid,
Yeah.
the biggest, like the biggest part of the crowd that's growing are the kids. So
That's good.
And they're at the
It's
height.
good to hear.
They're at the height. They don't have to bend down. They're just like, you know, the small ones. That is. You know.
Well, I have to brag a little bit. Back in the day, we actually went to school together, but I won the contest for the best miniature float.
yeah,
Nice.
I got
That's awesome.
free wooden nickels for our parade.
Nice.
It's pretty exciting.
Congratulations.
So there's a couple of, that's awesome. A couple of weird things is where we line up on St. Rock. If you go into St. Rock Market, towards the back, there's actually a photograph, black and white photograph, some way back in the day, and it
Or
shows
like the
people
50s. Yeah.
or earlier and with
40s.
miniature floats on that neutral ground,
Little kids though.
which is just a pure total coincidence, you know, but it's kind of like, okay, like that's where we're meant to line up, you
Yeah.
know.
Now, when you guys said you have a growing audience of, younger, kids and whatnot, do you think that would ever, not in a sense, force y'all to kind of change your parade?
No, we're not gonna change it.
I don't think so because I just kind of assume that all those kids, I just assume it's been cleared by their parents.
Mm-hmm.
And if
They
Yeah,
see
the-
worse every
the
day
pa-
anyway, honestly.
that's true. That's
So-
true. Yeah, there's that. There's that. And yeah, like if it's good with the parents, then we're probably all right. You know what I mean?
Well, yeah. And
But I mean, you do think about
yeah.
it a little bit, but I just figure, it's just I have a friend whose like son loves to curse and like she doesn't care. You know, I mean, I'm not saying like that's everybody at the parade, but I just feel like anybody at the parade, like their parents have told them like you might see,
you might
you know,
see this.
yeah. It's not like
Well,
it,
and
you're right there.
You
you're gonna
said
see worse.
they're not
every day.
raunchy.
No, not in particular. I mean, there's been a few years where there's like,
couple,
sexual stuff or whatever. We had one of our founding members, Todd. He makes beautiful floats. He made the title float one year. I can't remember for what year it was. I have the float in my house. And it was the title float. It was the Font Terribly Carib. And it was a naked woman giving birth to like a jester clown coming out of her.
Like giving birth to Mardi Gras itself.
Yeah.
Mardi Gras
Mardi Gras
itself,
itself is
full on, like naked, like bush, the whole thing. And it was a beautiful float, very simple. And, most people were cool, but some people were like, oh my goodness, with their kids there. And it's like,
Yeah.
that's how you were born. Like,
Yeah.
that's what happened. Like, he didn't care. He was just like, it's Mardi Gras, whatever. But yeah.
Well, you water it down if you make it bland. That you have to have a
Yeah,
little edge.
and
for
there's
it.
Yeah.
plenty of floats that are they're all different.
Yeah.
They're all different. There's no uniformity
Right.
in what you can do or can't do, except for the size of the float.
I mean, one
We
thing.
have several rules: not too big on a shoebox, not too big, not too tall, not too, people have gotten a little big over the years and we've had to like tap it down. And like the other rule is that you have to dress in formal wear. And
I love
just-
that.
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah.
Well, no,
there is no
Seems
costuming
right.
in
The
our
part of
group.
that, too,
the,
is-
the focus is on the float itself.
Right. Because some
You're not
people are
supposed
like,
to
why
look
don't
at
you
us.
costume? But it's like, if we had, yeah,
It
if
would
we
take
were in
away from the
colors, you would,
floats.
right.
Yeah, it's like a formal affair that we're supposed to recede into the background where the floats are supposed to be like the focus. So
Well,
that's
when I'd
the
seen that,
aesthetic.
I was kind of wondering if y'all had like a little pre-parade ball party or whatever, or was the reasoning? Well, no,
I think
it was just
just
So
to
the
recede
floats
into the
would be-
background.
Our
And I
friend-
mean, we have a party afterwards,
Yeah.
and we look nice. We're not like, you know, we're in. It's nice to dress up in formal wear and you know, little bit of whatever fun, but no wigs, no.
Yeah, just
You
do it
know,
up a little bit.
That was
Yeah.
our friend Jonathan's.
Yeah.
He came up with that idea like the
Jonathan's
first
like
year,
the-
and it
the-
was a good one because
The
it does
the
keep
dress Nazi.
the focus on the floats.
Dress
Every
Nazi.
year he's like, you know, we got to rein it in because people, especially women, tend to push the boundaries of what a big feathery hat. It's like, no, you can't. And I've done it too, you know. It's like because it's Mardi Gras, you want to,
Right.
but you have to like learn to tamp it down.
So one thing that I read is y'all try to keep yourselves around 30 floats.
35. I mean, we've grown a little bit. Obviously, we've grown since the first year was like 12 or 15 or whatever it was. But yeah, we definitely want to keep it within the realm of like the biggest parade, how many floats there are, whatever.
Yeah.
One of the you know, which is roughly like 30, 35. If we go over that, then we're getting too big. And so we just have to, you know, we have plenty
don't
of
wanna
people
be
that want to be in the parade and
medium
friends
Rex.
and yeah. If
Well,
we had
I-
50 floats, it would be ridiculous.
Well, also
Rex
like
at
yeah,
that point.
exactly.
I mean, like we have dogs. Like I love dogs, but like if you ever been in the Barkus parade, it's just like 1,000 dogs.
Yeah, it
Right,
goes
right.
on forever.
You know, like I mean, if we let in everybody that wants to be in the parade, and a lot of these people really would make great floats, it would be like
Yeah, it would
You
be
know,
a 10-mile long
yeah.
So we
parade.
have like
yeah.
a reserve of like 5 or 6 floats. It depends on the year that we farm out to guest artists, and we operate on a lottery system. So if the people express interest, like I'd love to make a float, we put them in the lottery, and then we choose from that lottery every year like 4 or 5 or 6 floats, whatever it is. And they can make a float that year, and then next year, if they want to be in the lottery again, it's not like you guaranteed a spot for that, because like we like to have like a rotating, so different people can do it, different guest artists, different, you know.
But
so.
like I say, I did have the best float in grade school.
yeah. No. That's some pretty good
Put your name in the
credentials.
lottery.
You had that exact float.
Because here you have something like a 17-year waiting list.
Oh,
Is that valid?
no,
I mean,
I don't know.
you
Or
know,
is
it's
it
like a
just-
ma-
how does that, how do you calculate that? People would have
it's,
to,
yeah.
I mean, it is a
We
weird.
have a lot of interest.
It's a
Let's just
weird
put it that
problem to
way.
have because there are like a lot of interested people, and like a lot of people that you know, like they definitely would make a cool float. But
So-
it's one of these.
So one thing that's happened over the years, I'm sure if you've seen the parade, is that people make all the little spectators on the
Yeah.
side.
Yes.
And that was a shock to us as that started to happen and develop, and you know, and it was like it's gotten better and better every year. It's like more and more creative stuff, and it's like crazy what people do. And so it's like, you know, if you can't be in the parade, you're still participating. You're just on the sidelines building these amazing spectators.
Yeah, I saw
I mean,
one
and
picture
so that's a way to
where
participate. You know?
I saw one picture where there was like 4 or 5 different like Barbie doll size things.
Yeah,
with,
that's
That's
an
the one
Optimus
that-
Prime. They had like a barricaades in front.
Yeah,
of
Yeah.
it,
that's
a
the
little
one that.
ladder.
I
like,
think that's the one that made the cover of the Gambit, and
Yeah.
I was just thought that was fantastic. I was like,
I was telling him, I was like, we ought to just follow the road after y'all are done because it's only a few blocks anyway.
Yeah.
So, like,
yeah.
We could follow and catch all those.
Yeah,
little-
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. You could just skip on down the road and see it from a different perspective and see all the different.
Well, it is kind of like
Spectators
it does
that
have
are
a couple of
amazing.
different, like basically where you saw coming out of the firehouse. That's a great spot to see it because you can like see each one up close.
Yeah.
yeah.
And then it's still during the daytime, and then when it makes that turn onto St. Claude, and then off of St. Claude,
Music Street.
for some reason that's where all the kids are, or a lot of them.
Well, the kids
I
are
don't
in
know.
St. Rock too, but
It's,
and
like
it's always
kid-
so crazy because it's like you
and it's
have
like all these little hands.
the little hands come out, and you can't just give one little hand to throw. You got to give all the little hands, and it's like, you know.
So
And
you guys-
then-
do you
but
guys
then-
do like a, I'm sorry.
No, I was just gonna say then it gets dark and then the floats light up, so then it's like a whole different, you
The
know.
floats light up.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
I'm aware of that.
yeah.
You may be seated at the beginning, but as you know,
Right.
we have the lights on and then when you're
Yeah, that's what I'm
starting.
seeing. It's just not as obvious.
But
It's
then
still
so
daytime,
the floats are all well lit with different forms of lighting depending on what you do. you
Yeah,
know?
so it depends whether you're a
Lots of LEDs and
day man or a night man.
yeah.
So your throws, are there little handmade little items, or y'all have a specific crew item that everybody has?
No, well, we all make our own throws, and as over the years, people now are making more like custom throws to match their float.
Okay.
So like, you know, Mr. Rogers' float, they probably made, I don't even know what they made because half the time I don't see. But
Little
anyway,
cardigan.
little
Yeah,
whatever. Stuff to match their floats.
And there's certain people that make a certain throw every year.
Certain people make throws every year of the same, like kind of like their own little custom. And then like our president Caesar, he makes little comic books every year
Okay.
that kind of tell the story of the theme. And he kind of, if you want to get some of them from him, you can get some of them to supplement your throws. Because you really do need a lot of throws. It's just
Yeah.
like a big Mardi Gras. It doesn't cost as much, but you have
Need a
to
whole
make,
pocket
because
full.
like I said, the little hands come out.
Yeah.
And then, you know, I mean, my group, our float team usually has like over 1,000 throws. I mean,
Wow.
they're little,
Yeah.
and they're divided amongst 3 people, so we're all like, but
And
they go fast.
but
It's
you-
That's
crazy.
a lot
I've
for
always
You wanna
wanted-
give-
a shorter route. You
Yeah,
know?
yeah, yeah. Well,
I've
there's
always
just, you
wanted
know,
people to put one of
more
each.
people on our route get throws
Yeah.
than if you're on a big route, you know.
That's neat. everybody
Because we're not
gets
throwing
more
like to
custom thing,
random.
yeah.
We're like, and you see your friends and you give them the special throws, and you know.
But sometimes you'll see them like years later, like, whoa, I didn't even know this. You know, one of our friends had made like these tiny, I think they were keychains, but it was like tiny little pieces of dough bash cake. And I was like, that's amazing. But like I didn't see it till like 2 years later. Almost a lot of people in the crew have like shadow boxes because they're like perfect for, you know, putting
Oh,
the little
yeah.
throws in. But I mean, I almost every year I always want everybody to put one each of their throws like on a table before we leave, just so you could see like. But no, we don't do it.
Oh,
But it
you
was-
don't know it? Oh, you
That's what we
make
should
you
do,
make
yeah.
A collection.
Yeah, I mean, but people do really
It's
cool
probably
stuff.
People would
funny to
take
look
them.
back at some of those.
Yeah, I mean, the problem is, you know, we have one of the main crew members is an archivist, but you know, you don't want to do more archivy on your free time. It's like if your person is a massage therapist,
Yeah.
you're not getting a massage because that's what they do all day. You know, like. But yeah, there's some really cool throws. I'm one of the only ones that gets to actually throw candy because I come out with the carny cart in the beginning. So I get to give the kids candy, but
So I've read and seen some pictures where some people were like almost taking the signature throws that you'll see in some of the, you know, like Zulu and Muses and Nicks by taking little like
Tiny.
purses, you know, like.
Oh yeah, we replicate.
Yeah.
We spin off of. We've made little coconuts and little shoes, and I don't know if anyone's made little purses, but little spears. You know how like
Choctaw.
Yeah, or little spears. Little. One of our members made little tiny flambeau out of tinfoil. What else? I'm trying to think of other stuff that's just a tiny version of Mardi Gras.
I mean that's kind of the great thing about you know just
Little stuffed animals.
Mardi Gras in general is like there, you know, obviously there's
Beads,
certain
obviously.
things that are like signature throws to certain parades, but there's also like Mardi Gras is just you know, it's like a tapestry and like everybody is sharing and borrowing ideas from one another
Oh,
in the
absolutely.
tradition, you know.
That's sort of the driver of us doing this, because we've been wanting to hear these stories of how things got started. And a lot of these parades, people throw, and it's almost an all-year event for a lot of these captains, putting these things on.
Oh,
and they
God.
don't even get to see them. They run on the float, you know what I mean? So, it's
That's
nice-
the
it's
funny thing.
to
We're
hear those
yeah,
stories.
we're talking about people. That's the funny thing we were talking about before we started. People coming in from out of town.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's like a lot of them don't realize that they just like see the big show. It's like,
It's an
oh,
all-year event.
New Orleans people just like to party. It's like, no, this is like a lot of work
Yeah.
that went behind the scenes just so you get to
Well, the
see.
big parades start painting their floats like
Oh,
the
it's
day
almost
after.
immediately,
They have already have their theme,
Yeah.
and we don't. You know, obviously we're working very small, so we're just deciding our theme right now. You know.
Plus all the fundraisers and
Yeah.
miscellaneous events
Yeah.
that they're
We
holding.
kind of give
throughout the
ourselves a
year.
little break between like the parade and like maybe June or July, and then we start like the wheels start spinning, and it's like, okay, here we go again. It's coming up, even though it's but we do get a little break because we're not as big, so it's not
Yeah.
as big of a
Some
production.
of those
Yeah,
are a true full-time extra jobs for most people.
yeah, it is a lot of work though, even for a small crew. It's
I saw also that during Jazz Fest, y'all are usually set up.
sometimes not all. They rotate their displays. One of our crew members works out there at the Folk Life Village, so she kind of ushered us in like a few years back. I think we've been out there 4 times total, 2 in a row 1 year, and then there was a couple years that we weren't, and then these last 2 years we were in it in the Folk Life Village, where they show kind of like all the Louisiana art, and Muses is typically out there, and we're usually in the same tent with them, kind of like the carnival tent, and yeah, we bring like 10 floats out there, kind of some of our all-stars, and we sit there and make throws, and it's really great. It's awesome to be at Jazz Fest with.
That's what I was going to say. Like, you know, you're
'Cause some
all in
people
the same
just don't
tradition.
even get to see. I mean, most
Right.
people don't get to see them up close for a long period of time. So people come through and they're like, "Wow," like they can really see them up close. But I don't even get to see them.
And there's just, you just learn weird stuff. Like, I won't say the crew's name because I'm not sure how much of a secret or not it's supposed to be, but there's basically a town in southern Louisiana where they have a miniature shoebox parade that's been going on for like
I don't think it's a secret.
100 years. But it's not really Mardi Gras related. It's all because somebody came from the small town to New Orleans and they saw for the first time a lit up electric streetcar, a lighted streetcar. So they went back to their hometown and created like a shoebox streetcar and like had candles or I don't
Is it
know.
like St. Francisville or
It's
St.
either
Martinville?
St. Francisville or St. Martinville.
I feel like I've heard about this. but
I
tell
can't
me
remember the
about
name of
it.
it. It's not a secret.
So it's
They
like
had-
I feel like there are spirit parade
And we have
twins.
yet to go
but
see it. We've tried one year. It was
it
bad
happens
weather.
like
and
October.
It's in October or something.
It's like
yeah.
yeah, at some point we have to like we come in peace, like like have a. But that's really cool, and I just never heard of that. So you just meet a lot of interesting people and learn things more and more about Mardi Gras.
So one thing that I think that it's important to talk about is the interesting way that your crew name is spelled. That it's TITR
Schwa.
Schwa.
Schwa EX.
Well, R Schwa X, right? That's all because very early on, what
Year
Three?
3, 4.
year 3 or 4,
3 but blending into 4.
Rex got upset that we had Rex in our name, and they were gonna like sue us or cease and desist us, and
They sent a letter.
like
They're
half the
all
crew
lawyers,
members
so-
of Rex are lawyers, right?
Yeah.
So if they put their full legal might against us, that
How would they care?
that
I don't know.
Well,
No,
they,
I know a few
Yeah.
Rex riders. They're
well, it,
Well-
and it wasn't like every Rex
Yeah.
member. It was
Yeah.
new leadership, I think, is how I remember it.
it was like one
And-
faction that was. Yeah, it was by no means all the members.
Yeah.
A lot of the members were just cool and probably could care
These-
less. But
these
there was
guys
one
were like-
faction that were like, no.
These guys were like, nobody can use Rex except for us in Mardi Gras. And I'm like, so it ended up, Jeremy and I met with 2 of the lawyers. We met at the Roosevelt Hotel bar or something, some bar on off of Canal Street.
No, oh, right.
And
That's brilliant too, because at that point, this is the kind of stuff you can't make up. They were meeting at
Roosevelt.
the Roosevelt bar, which was also in a dispute with the bar from the Roosevelt Hotel, like
Over the name.
over the
Oh,
name.
yeah.
So that's where we
they're
met. I
meeting-
don't know how we
they-
decided to meet there, but we were going to meet at the
Piccadilly, but it's not there anymore.
Yes, ain't there no more. So we met across the street, and they met us, the lawyers. It was just Jeremy and I, and then these lawyers come down the street. We made them buy us drinks. We're like, "You're buying. We'll have some Sazeracs."
Make it a double.
And they were nice, like they were, but they're like, and I'm like, we went back and forth. They're like, you could
And
change
they were-
your name to this.
They
or
were
that.
trying to
We're
like
we
get
don't
it to
wanna
like
our
change
name
it to T-Rex, like WRECK.
We're like, no, we don't
And I
want to
was
do
like,
that.
so the funny thing is when we had like the board meeting, we got to do something, and then it's all these people and this huge hubbub, like everybody's yelling this that, and I had a linguistics class, and then we studied all the like phonetic symbols, which I mean a lot of people know the schwa anyway, but in the linguistics class we did all the like phonetic symbols that represent sounds, and then it just like all of a sudden hit me like the schwa. Just flip the E. It's technically a character. It's like a real character. So it's technically not an E anymore, And basically it allowed them to, because at that point the word was getting out in public
Oh,
sentiment.
we had front page, top of the fold
Yeah,
newspaper.
yeah. I remember when it
It
happened.
was a
When-
slow news day in
That was a
New
good thing.
Orleans.
That was a good
We made
thing that the
front page,
Picayune.
top of the
It was
fold.
before Picayune went to 3 days a week.
Yeah.
So fortunately, we got like the Tuesday or Wednesday front page. But so public sentiment was like tilting on our side, because we were like the David to their Goliath. And I think if they wanted to, they probably still could have like, legally crushed us. Maybe. I'm not sure how
we
the
never,
schwa
we
would
never
have.
heard from them again after
But
we
it
switched.
allowed everybody
It
to
was just
like
like,
walk
bye.
away without.
If you had a good meeting with whoever their
Yeah,
lawyer
they
was,
weren't-
they might have gone back and just like they're good people.
No,
They
yeah,
don't wanna-
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
It allowed everybody
They
to
just
like.
didn't want any confusion, and I think they realized there's not going to be
Yeah, there's
any
very little
confusion.
confusion between
It's
T-Rex and Rex.
yeah.
I
But
could-
the
Not even on near the same day, like
the
anything.
schwa sound actually makes the sound like in the word the. And I was actually getting my teeth cleaned, and I was telling my dentist the whole story. And he was like, "So do you have to pronounce it T-Rux now?" I was like, "Go dentist!" Like, like, oh.
I
You're like-
wonder if other parades have had the issue like Chewbacca's and Bacchus. I wonder if they ever
They
had an
could
issue.
have, potentially, but
I don't think they've had
I don't
a
think in that
problem.
particular case that
You would have
happened
heard about it by
because
Well, just
The only one
just
I really
because
know of is Orpheus.
Rex making a
Yeah.
deal
With the two.
over the name, you guys being T-Rex and them being Rex, making such a small thing such a issue to them.
Well, they're the king of carnivals.
I think
so
that's what
they
it has to
kind
do
of
with,
messed with
yeah.
the real big.
What, they're 160 years old?
The
yeah,
big
yeah.
wigs.
And
I
Bacchus,
could see
I
it
think
wanted to
if
protect
Bacchus
the brand.
wanted to, they probably could have. But I think traditionally Bacchus has been kind of like
Whatever.
just
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
let
I
the
went
good
to
times
school with all
roll.
those,
Yeah.
My principals and all are been like grand marshals. And
Right. They
captains and all that
never like
forever.
have pulled the toot, I don't think, because when they first started, they were considered like the, you know what I mean, like the nouveau riche parade, like Al Copeland, like,
Yeah.
you know what I mean. So they probably could have done it, but
But
they
that
just
year that we decided on the schwa, then we had to decide on our theme, and we had, we have always a pool of different themes, and one of the themes that was, proposed that actually won and was our year 4 theme was Napoleon Avenue Complex, and that's kind of like still to this day one of our best themes. So it was like
Was it your favorite theme?
one of them.
It
I
made
think.
one
I
of
think
her
it was
favorite
the one
floats.
with the most
it was
bang
like that
for the
whole.
buck,
That,
it was,
the one thing I always hate is like when people get super territorial. Like for Endymion, when people would camp out like 4
Oh,
days
yeah.
ahead of time. I mean, I guess if you did it, we're cool about it. I wouldn't care, but a lot of people aren't. And then like the neutral ground at the beginning of
Napoleon.
on Napoleon Avenue, where turns on the
So we were
same
just kind of making fun of like
the super
uptown,
seriousness of it.
super
But her float,
serious. Yeah.
yeah, her float that year was just like a million ladders. Like you couldn't even.
Ladders
The
on
people
top
were
of
like
ladders
this
on
big,
top
and
of
like just
ladders.
like
There
you
was-
couldn't even get to
You couldn't
the.
see anything, and people, so yeah.
Right.
So
I know.
that
I
was
get
kind
it
of
for kids, but you don't need to be in the front.
Yeah, don't
Right.
make it a
Scoot back
wall
little
of.
bit,
yeah.
I mean, when the daiquiri shop was still there on Bienville and Carrollton, like it was so brilliant because, like, families wouldn't sit up in front of it, I guess, because it's like evil alcohol place. But there was one year where there were people right across the street on neutral ground between like there and Bricata's that had been there for like 3 days, and then I just walked right up and stood right in front of the daiquiri shop. It's like you just took 3 days, you're right there, and I'm right here.
We do it for a Bacchus Sunday, but we just go in the morning. And
Oh
get
no,
there
that's
early.
cool. It's just,
You know,
it's
and
like
then
that
if people
hype.
want to join us, they're more than
Yeah.
welcome.
Yeah.
We
It's
just
just
need
when
our
you get
spot
like
too,
super
you know?
serious about
Yeah.
it, you know.
Don't
Like,
stand on my tarp.
I've been
Yeah.
standing here all day. Like if you walk right up and it's like, yeah, and I mean, I'm not sitting in their chair, but
yeah.
We'd gone out for Orpheus last year, and I saw one guy stand on this tarp. I mean, it looked like a football field. I'm like, man, you mind if we come on and watch the parade? He's like, yeah, but don't think you're staying here all night for tomorrow night. Cause I forget what it must have been for Zulu. He was setting up for it, but that was his spot.
Right,
I mean,
right.
It was so huge.
Should put 2 goalposts. And
I love
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
And it was a ridiculous spot. But
It
he
was
let us
literally
go in.
20 yards worth of space.
Right.
Yeah,
it's ridiculous.
but he was nice. He just let us roll in. But
Yeah.
it's
it
hilarious.
just didn't make sense
Krewe
to
of
me to
Chad,
hold
as they
that
call
sort
it
of
now.
spot.
I was kind of glad when they, a few years back, when they started taking people's stuff down, like because there would be no one there. So like, right,
Yeah.
I'm gonna go
You're
and
like,
throw
my
all this
ladder,
away.
my, and it's like,
No one
sorry.
was there.
Yeah.
It's trash.
Yeah.
Yeah, especially that.
You're
Like what?
like you're like justice is served because
Yeah,
everyone
no.
has been ticked off from someone that's taken up a lot of space or been rude to you. Like, hey, could I stand here? And they're like, no.
Oh yeah,
And that's
right.
kind of like, I mean, not to like.
I know
tutor-
for years it said if I was ever mayor, the first thing I would do is take down all the ladders.
I
you
mean,
know?
not to like toot our own horn or anything, but like, I mean, really, like the audience in T-Rex is like, I mean, of course, there's people in the front and then the people that stand behind them, but it's really like a happy crowd. It's like everyone's just, because it's just chill and mellow and small, and there's not a lot of like competition and space, and like,
Yeah.
it's like, it's just a really positive vibe, typically.
So it's settled. We're doing a line of ladders.
Yeah.
No,
Get out
I
there,
love the
like,
line of mini ladders.
Friday
Mini
night.
ladders are fine, you
A
know.
lot of mini ladders.
Mini ladders are great. You know what I mean?
And then we'll get like small cop cars to come and like confiscate them. Like,
No, because I mean that was the thing. Like parts of St. Charles, it got so ridiculous where it's just like a wall
Yeah.
of ladders, and you
Yeah.
cannot.
Actually, it's right
really
there by
did
that
a good
curve.
job this year. The city was
Yeah. it was-
really hard ass about it, and the whole sidewalk side, you couldn't have a ladder at all. No tents, none of that. You could have chairs,
Yeah.
but they said ladders had to be on the neutral ground, had to be the height back from the curve, like we're always supposed to be. And they were hard ass about it. this
Yeah,
year.
keep it
I saw
reasonable,
them
you
going
know.
through and telling people to move.
Yeah.
Well, and I totally agree with that because if you're on a ladder, you don't need to be right in the front. Let
Yeah.
the kids or the shorter people kind of get in the front, stand there for
I
however
would
long,
ask they
you know?
leave a little space between too, so
Yeah.
it's not just a wall.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Like
exactly.
the
Really-
Denyon turns into that.
That's what I'm saying.
People are really
mile of it.
greedy with
Yeah, yeah,
it.
yeah.
And it's like, it's just
They,
Mardi Gras.
they
it's
just don't
beads.
understand
it's
the
just,
spirit of
It's
Mardi
stuff that
Gras.
you've gotten
Right.
every year.
Right.
And you need more of
They
that.
don't.
Like,
Because Mardi Gras is supposed to be, it's free.
It's about giving.
You
Yeah,
can wander
it is about
in,
giving.
wander out. You know, there's always been that kind of division in New Orleans. Like, are you more of a jazz fest person or more of a Mardi Gras person? Which I mean, I don't think some people love both, some people hate
Yeah, I
both.
couldn't
Are you a
decide.
voodoo,
Yeah.
a voodoo
But I
fest
mean-
person?
Yeah, no, right.
Not really.
I've had some
No,
good.
that I could
No.
decide.
Yeah.
I've had, although the one great thing about Voodoo Fest is like the time of year it is. Because for years I've been like, why don't they
Yeah,
just
it's
make
like
Jazz
cool,
Fest when it's
yeah.
cool? But no, what I'm saying is the one cool thing about what Mardi Gras is supposed to be is that like, there's no admission. Like, you can go in, be there for the whole parade, or you can be there for 20 minutes and go back to your friend's house. That's the great part. You can
The
just
price of admission is a good time.
yeah,
That's what it
wander
is.
in, wander out. So like, that's where it gets crazy. If you make it, there was one time where in Endymion, like all of a sudden, I was at a friend's house and wasn't feeling good, and I was like trying to cross the parade line, and it was impossible.
Yeah.
Like, it was absolutely impossible. Like, you know, could have just died on the side. Like he couldn't cross. He couldn't
ladders.
cross Canal Street. Like that's the epitaph.
So I'm sure you guys are Mardi Gras fans. What sort of other parades do you guys go to? What kind of mood
Well,
of parade do you like? Do you like the walking parades? More,
Yeah,
or-
we actually march in another parade after T-Rex called Box of Wine. I don't know
Okay.
if you've ever seen it come down right in between Toth and
I've been to Cork.
and
I hadn't been to
no,
that.
this march is kind of marches between Toth and Bacchus, and it's kind of
Oh.
like
It comes up
nod
before
to Bacchus.
comes up before
It's the wine
box,
parade. It's kind
but
of
it
like
literally
I
deconstructs.
guess I never.
maybe
Well,
you
Well,
were-
it doesn't go the entire.
It's very it's not that it's spontaneous, but it's organized. But it's kind of organized chaos, and it's like you never know when it's going to come. It's just people dressed in very beautiful.
It doesn't go the
costumes.
entire route.
Okay.
It only goes
Like
like somewhere
Jackson.
between like the lower garden, like somewhere in the garden
Jackson.
district, like the number streets to like right
Oh,
before
okay.
Lee Circle.
That's why
So
we
that
always
section.
missed it.
Right.
We're
So
always on General Pershing.
And the whole
Right,
thing
yeah.
is like we pour wine into you carry a box of wine and you pour wine into people's mouths, or you
like
serve
literally pour wine. So it's basically
Yeah.
yeah.
It's
It's basically
great.
deconstructing the idea of Bacchus back to the actual element, but still being a tribute to the parade itself. You know
I
what I
used
mean?
to bring a box of wines anytime I'd be invited to these snobby wine tastings.
Oh no, yeah.
I'd bring a box.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, but I mean,
Class it up a bit.
it's
Yeah,
so
yeah,
great too, like to
love
watch
the
the
difference.
different way that people take the wine. You know, like some people are like, okay, free wine, they'll put out the cup. But then a lot of people want the all in. They're like this. And you're like,
Spilled up. There's like a group of people that like are now regulars every year. They wear white, all white, just saying it's soaked with
Just so
red
they get,
wine.
yeah.
And they're great. And then there's people that are like, no way, I'm not going to drink from a box that's been, with other
then one
with
year-
somebody else's mouth on it. And like other people just don't care. And it's the spirit of Mardi Gras. Like you just see it all. It's great.
what you're talking about is like one year this guy we knew had like kind of like had not a powdered wig, but he had his hair like all, he was in a full waiter suit and he had like the salver with a box of wine, but like janky, like
Chris
duct
Lane.
taped and stuff like that. He was like, this pairs well with, and that kind of thing. Like this really has aminoid fruity notes and like.
And I saw that parade when I'm not from New Orleans. I moved here 20 years ago, and I saw that parade. That was one of my first Mardi Gras experiences. I was like, "What is that? It's amazing!" Like,
Yeah.
and then
We went into Audubon into the Audubon
when the
Hotel.
Audubon
when it
Hotel
was
was there, and
the guy in the
I-
back room just in a bathtub, them just
pouring wine, all over
hosing
himself.
him down with wine. And I, even being from here, was like, she's like, "Oh, is this something that happened?" I'm like, I don't know what
All
this
in,
is.
Yeah.
I'm like, I don't know what this is, but I gotta
But
find.
I just signed this up.
Yeah, yeah. But yeah,
But
that,
now eventually we become friends with the woman that puts the parade on, and now we're like,
But that-
doing it for the past 5 or
they're
6
the
years.
ones
I
that-
have to walk down and go see that.
yeah, they're the ones that I
Yeah.
have to say, like,
It's pretty
man, they
fantastic.
really, as far as getting the idea of Mardi Gras, it's real, because like the parade is like a wild energy, but just because it has that one through line of the wine itself, it kind of like pulls it all together. You know what I mean?
Were y'all able to do it this year with the way they cut out all the bands to avoid all the weather?
Well, no, that was the crazy part.
We got
this past
soaked.
year
Yeah, it
was
came
that ra-
down.
yeah.
We were soaked. There was nobody out there. There was maybe like
So we got
there was
hosed,
like 10%
and we
of
still
who would
went,
normally be out there.
but then there was, only 10% of people outside.
Yeah,
so it was like after.
we set up kind of. We're there for the day, so
Yeah.
we had set up and you have it in empty.
So it was like the post-apocalypse.
There were still people out there though.
Yeah.
You know
By
what
the
I
time
mean?
we were on the street, it had stopped raining, but we were all just
Tell
drenched.
you what, it got crowded back for Bacchus
Yeah.
in an instant.
Oh yeah,
I mean,
no, we
out of
kind of had
nowhere.
missed it. Right, it could have been like a half hour would have happened,
It was
but
actually really
it was
fun.
still kind of great because it was almost like a Mardi Gras apocalypse had happened, and only like the true hardcore zombies like reemerged, and then there's the ones that did come out were still like So it was kind of bizarrely fun in its own way, but I mean otherwise there's just a lot of the
I like Bacchus.
I've always
we do this thing before Bacchus. So I don't usually see Bacchus now because we're in this parade before Bacchus, and then we're drunk and we're like, oh. But I like Krewe of Tit, of course. It's just a classic.
Yeah.
But now we
love
roll after them, like the day after, so it's kind of like tamp it
Yeah.
down. And then the one that was new this year is Bohème, which was really cool.
Yeah.
I thought that was really well done. And then
Joan of Arc is
Joan of
kind of a
Arc is-
surprise.
And then what are the bigger ones? Endymion, no. Can't handle
I
it.
do have a problem with Endymion now.
What?
I have a little bit of an issue with Endymion now.
Well, we lived in that neighborhood forever.
Well, and it's, I
Right,
mean,
I lived on Bank Street for a long
and
time.
it's
and then of
just-
course, of course, it's totally not their fault, but just in the last decade, you've had 2 different vehicular homicide events.
Not
It's just
homicide,
like
but manslaughter.
bad things happen in Endymion.
It's
No, I don't
so
have anything
many
against it,
people.
but
And I used to really like when my friends had a place up on Capitolis. That was a long time ago. We used to like to go see Toth, but now, we're in Box One. It depends on what you're doing and where you can't see it all. But
Namtak I like because it's like one of the
we
last
go
true
over the West Bank for
neighborhood
Namtak.
parades.
Yeah.
That's a thing the genius ace move is like you go to Namtak, then take the Chalmette ferry, and then catch Krewe of Tit and
Krewe of Drew.
Krewe of Drew and
And
Gentilly.
we moved to Gentilly a couple years ago, so now we kind of get to know all these Krewe of Drew people. So it's kind of fun.
But-
It's real small and like.
Yeah.
But
It's the one thing I do miss was like when you had more neighborhood parades. Like you had
I
Peg.
missed the mid-city parades.
Yeah,
There
like
was a lot of
Pegasus
those.
during the week.
Pandora and all those were
Like Mid City.
in mid-city.
Yeah.
Mid
Like
City
the
was in
parade
Mid City,
Mid-City.
Oh,
and
yeah.
Carrollton and
Carrollton.
Nokianis.
It's so ridiculous
Yeah.
that it's uptown.
No, but like Pegasus was, went through Mid City
Well,
and
the city wants everything to kind of be.
I
on
get
that
it,
one
no.
route.
I
But-
mean,
It was
Well,
fun
we're
when you
easier for
had
them.
living in the neighborhood, like those were our parades.
right.
know.
It
So
took
like
away,
but they.
like Hercules and
Mhm.
Pontchartrain, like even the East had their own parade.
Yeah.
Chalmette even had.
Chalmette still has.
I know. Well, what's
No, Chalmette doesn't anymore.
They have. I went to a Chalmette parade this year.
I think they've won.
Nemesis rolled for the last time apparently this year.
Oh, really?
Daughters-
That's
The
it?
news that I saw, yeah.
Oh,
Daughters
wow.
of Eve.
Well, glad I
Yeah.
saw
they
it.
said the mini doubloons.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I mean, I do miss that. I think that's why when we first rolled in the Bywater, the very first year we started by Bacchanal on Poland Avenue.
Yeah.
And I think there was a lot of people like just kind of came out of their houses like, yeah, it was kind of like in that spirit, like, oh, it's going through the neighborhood, And that's, I think, why, I mean, of course,
Yeah, people have parties for us. They're like, so, and then we periodically throw around the idea of moving, like changing the route. I'm like, we can't, like, it's like a.
I
I think
honestly think the city's doing better with allowing a lot of these upsprout, smaller walking groups. So
Yeah,
just
well, they
kinda
made us
allow it
move
to
this
happen.
they
past
are,
year.
but they're also trying to squeeze as much money.
Are they?
Yeah, that's
They
a
made
whole.
us move
You
this
still
year.
gotta get the same permit as the big
They made
parade, don't you?
Chewbacca's move as
Well,
well.
Yeah.
They made.
They're just trying to like squeeze
just
the
us two,
lemon.
really.
No, but I'm talking about just allowing them to do their thing. Like they basically leave them alone. There'll be one cop just following behind.
Yeah,
And that's
well,
it. It's just
They
kinda
require
mark
us
the
to
end.
have 6 cops.
They make us have more
Really?
cops than
Yeah.
we need.
on the route.
Uh-huh.
That's surprising.
The crazy
the
thing
crowds
is,
are they maintain, and they're right in a sense. Like you have bigger crowds, keep having bigger crowds. We need to, and it's like safety. And
the
blah,
funny
blah, blah,
thing
but
is,
it's
they had
just-
one year that Joe Biden came to town when he was still vice president, right?
Mm-hmm.
And all the cops in the whole city went to that. So we actually rolled that year like raw, like
No, we were supposed to have cops.
Yeah, but we
A
didn't.
dog, one of his service dogs or guard dogs or whatever, fell off a roof and died, and then that
Some
got
reason
that
so
threw
basically we had
everything off.
no
So we rolled without cops that year.
we had no police that year.
So
And it
they
went
make
totally fine, except the only like
St.
super,
Claude
the
is
only
the
dicey
problem.
part is crossing St. Claude. Like we didn't have to do
We had
that.
like bicyclists helping us, and like just people like stopping cars, and like St. Claude's crazy. It's like
Yeah.
a highway,
But we've always like toyed with that idea. Like, there's people that wanted to go down Lafitte Greenway, and I kind of like jokingly said we're going to go on Power Boulevard in Kenner because of those giant
He always makes
pylons.
Me, he always
It'll
makes
make
me
us look like
cringe
even more.
when he says that. I'm like,
Yeah,
it's not gonna happen.
keep bringing up Power Boulevard. Like if they just keep raising the fees on us, or just
Well,
take it
that's
to
the
Power
Mary,
take it to
Mary
Power
It's
Boulevard.
Boulevard.
Jefferson
That
Parish.
Yeah.
Yeah, take it to Power Boulevard.
How do you guys choose your royalty? It's not people, but it's
No,
Right.
it's not
the
people.
objects.
So basically, once we get the theme sorted out, we then call on our members, whoever. Does anyone want to make the king? Does anyone want to make the queen? Does anyone want to make the title float? Because those are kind of like the special. And usually we have to like somebody, and we find somebody, and then they decide what they want to make.
But then a lot of times it honors like a great of
A
the
lot of
city.
times, if someone has died this year,
And then this year it's like,
Lots to
what do
choose
we
from.
do? Because
but that person
there's
usually
20
decides.
Dr. John,
20 musicians
yeah, right,
alone that
right.
you could do.
That person usually decides, or we don't say the king is going to be Dr. John, the queen.
There's a
we
title
might put it out in the ether.
There's a title float too.
There's a title float. The title
Last
float
year-
is always the title of the theme, just like
Yeah.
it is in
Last
regular
year was like
parades.
one kind of. I was just telling my students like the other day, like, there's not much cool about getting older, but one of the only cool things is like sometimes you'll just be in some situation like, oh, I didn't think this was. Because at one point a few years ago we went to Austria and like all of a sudden we're in Salzburg, where like they filmed The Sound of Music, which
Yeah.
is like I don't really care, whatever. But I just remember like all my girl cousins like, Sound of Music, and like I'm all of a sudden standing here on the. Like, yeah, how did I get here?
Yeah,
You know what I mean? But yeah, one cool thing last year as well. No, because I was saying like Brian Batt made the title float, and
Brian and his partner.
yeah,
Tom.
and like as a I like when I was young, Punch Train Beach was like my favorite thing in the world. So like it's like all right, like I was like I'm gonna like I can only ask like say one thing about Punch Train Beach the whole night. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's like, but just the idea that he made the title float last year, it's like just such a weird. Everything kind of comes around, which
I mean, it's
Carnival
organized, but it's also like somebody do it, and what are you gonna do? Like it's not. We don't.
So in a sense, it's usually like a memorial for those who've
Not
passed.
always. Like
Not
I made the
always.
queen one year, way back when, and I just did a fictional kind of queen.
And one year is Irma Thomas, and obviously she's still alive.
Mm-hmm.
But a lot of times it could be that.
It
Like
could be. It's
Dr.
just
John would be an obvious.
whatever that person wants to do. If they want to
Yeah.
honor,
Free, you guys give them free reins to
everybody
express
has
themselves.
free reign. Like I said before,
Yeah.
everyone can do whatever they want to do on their float, provided it's on a shoebox, it's small, and it's
The
small.
title
It's on a shoebox.
And the title float and the king and queen aren't bound by the theme.
They're not really bound by
So-
the theme, and they don't have to match. The king and the queen don't have to match. They don't have to like know each other. They can be fictional or real or dead or alive or it's just creative.
I mean,
freedom there.
one thing that it seems kind of obvious, but it's kind of weird if you think about it, is that, like, looking at the model train universe, like, one really cool thing about our floats is, like, basically anybody making the float can compose the entire float, because you don't have people in the way.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like a real, the big parades, they do have sometimes a couple of title floats, but then, like, you make a float, but you got, like, all these people on it.
Right.
So like if you were going to compose like a Greek scene, you have like
You have to
people
make
in the
spaces,
way.
yeah.
You know what I mean? Whereas we can just do it like pure, the thing.
Purely a scene. Yeah.
Yeah, purely a scene. Like a diorama.
Right.
Tell me about your guys' post-parade party.
We have been having it every year for the past, I don't know how many years, 7, 8 years at the Always Lounge.
It's officially called the ping pong ball.
It's called the Ping Pong Ball.
Mm-hmm.
The reason that it's called the Ping Pong Ball is because the first year that we rolled, we ended up at Vaughn's. And again, we were like 12 floats. There was like 15 people in the parade or whatever. It was small. And just our friend group, basically. And we, of course, got drunk and were dancing and thought it was a good idea to dance on the ping pong table. Kind of in our minds thinking it was a
Sounds brilliant.
It was
I
in
knew that
like
that
a
was not a
pool
good
table.
idea.
You
I was like the
know.
one person
A
like,
pool
didn't
table
say
could hold the
anything.
weight.
No, I didn't.
But
I
a
was
ping
like the
pong
one person
table
like,
is
ah.
not
Not so
holding
much,
the weight.
yeah.
like it has a. I'm not sure how much y'all know about ping
We
pong.
felt bad about that.
Yeah.
Did anybody get
No,
like,
the
cartoon,
great
you know?
the great New Orleans part of
No.
that story is that like we totally destroyed the ping pong table, but like the bar didn't like
Oh,
try to make us pay for it.
Whatever.
Yeah.
It's just like
And we didn't have any money. I mean, we don't have any money now, but we
Somebody
definitely didn't have
probably
any money
dropped it
back
off
then.
in there,
Yeah.
like,
And
the
then
the
Yeah.
tragedy of that is that
so that's when we got the name.
like the ping pong ball, that original ping pong ball should, because somebody took the ping pong ball from that night. That ping pong ball should be like in a little glass cube, like in the museum headquarters, but like it ended up at
Jeremy's house.
the house of a couple of the crew members,
President.
and their cat was like they wake up the next day, probably hungover, and the cat is just hitting that ping pong ball all around the house for hours. So they just took it and like, so lost
Yeah, you need to
forever.
put like in
Yeah,
a case with like laser
I
beams
know
around it.
exactly,
To get
exactly.
an honorary
Protected.
ping pong. So we just have this party afterwards. Usually we have DJs, friends of ours, and typically we have some kind of live music, friends of ours again. It's all kind of friends. And we put the floats up on stage. Now, in the past, not this year. This year we kind of nixed this because it was just getting to be too much. We would do a ceremony called Gallier Small, where one of our members, Rob Cambry, he would be the MC and he would read descriptions about each float. You write a description about each float, and it's
All right,
mostly from
yeah.
it was mostly from members.
Yeah, it's kind of like the
Yeah.
we were talking about the bulletins.
Yeah.
No, yeah, and
To where if you look at the, like the Crew d'Etat one, it'll have
Oh,
a
no,
description.
So
Yeah,
that you
yeah,
know
yeah.
what the
Yeah.
thing
if we had
is
that,
about.
then that would resolve the problem.
We
but-
did that for many, many years until this year we kind of were like, let's see what it's like after, because a lot of people were complaining that they just wanted to come and just start partying and drinking and dancing. And you sit through this like hour and a half long thing, and it's just like, after doing the whole parade, now you're just sitting down listening. It's just like, some people were upset that we didn't do it, but whatever.
You could do like some of the parades have like the little baseball cards where
Right. We'd have to
I
do that
know,
like way
that would be
after.
great
a
too.
picture of it.
No, that would be totally awesome.
But so now, yeah, it's just a party
It's
afterwards.
kind of like a tough call because it was really cool, but then it also kind of like kills the mo
went on.
from the, because people come off the roll, they got
Energized.
the energized. They want to go right to a party. They want,
It was
have
like
this-
sitting down listening to, and it was funny, and a lot of the descriptions are hilarious. But it just went on. We have 35 floats. It's just like if there was 12 floats, it was fine, but it's too much.
Yeah, when you get into the 30s. Yeah,
I mean,
can
some
imagine that
people-
would
And then
take
people
probably an
don't
hour.
keep it short. They like
Yeah.
Some
these
people
long
write a
descriptions.
novel.
miss
Yeah,
it.
it's like,
Yeah. No matter how much you say, like it has to be 3 sentences.
Yeah.
Nobody listens.
There's
They
also
did.
the whole other issue of the city, we made us move off of our original Saturday night.
Mm-hmm.
The city now wants, how does it work? They want,
They don't want any small crews during the Mardi Gras weeks, the 2 weeks that are actually
Yeah, the
Mardi
2
Gras,
weeks
and we're
prior
not
to.
considered Mardi Gras parades. Chewbacca's isn't considered a Mardi Gras parade. We aren't. Crew de Vue isn't, even though we are Mardi Gras. We're not Mardi Gras parades. So they made us move from the first week of Mardi Gras back because it's too much on their force. It's too much. They want, it's not enough police.
As a spectator, I personally like it that way because there's a lot of those. Like I said, they seem to be springing up like crazy lately, and there's a lot of those. And you kind of get a group, and it's like a build-up. I like the bigger parades, personally.
Yeah, no, I like them
all the
too.
way.
Well, the one- I mean-
I love
It's a
Mardi
nice
Gras.
to see
We-
the
so-
build-up of it.
Yeah.
And you're like,
Yeah.
all right,
we were like mad because like,
Well, we couldn't
No.
roll on a Saturday night anymore.
Yeah.
And then so
for
now
some
we're on
people
a
at
Sunday
work-
night. It's the only night that we could feasibly
Oh.
pick because we couldn't do a Friday night. And we wanted it for kids. Like Friday night makes you're gonna end up doing it at 8 o'clock. It's not good for kids. It's like the Saturday wasn't available because Crew de Vue's got that and 2 other parades. So we were like Sunday. But Sunday, this past year was really great. But for our members, it's like you have to work some people have to work the next day. And it's just
Right.
like, it puts a kind of like
A string.
kibosh on any
I bet
late
it-
night.
it-
And we're
it
all
was
getting older.
It was a
but
weird trade-off
still.
because, on the other hand, it kind of went really well. And then the one cool thing was that
Well, we had our own day, and we were like just solidly like that was the only thing that was happening was our
there was also
parade.
the one other thing too is there were people that came to our parade for the first time because we used to be on the same day as like
Uptown parade.
Yeah, it's
Uptown
like
parades,
10
like
parades.
Ferret,
Yeah,
or-
yeah.
so like
People are like, I can't get out of my neighborhood uptown.
Yeah.
And so a lot of people this year were
Last
able
year
to.
was our first time, maybe second time getting to see y'all
Yeah.
because
right.
It's
it
just
was
too much,
always in competition with.
too much going
When
on.
I
Yeah.
first walked
Yeah.
to St. Rock Neutral Ground this year, the first guy I saw was the Dancing Man, and I was like, I'd never seen him, and I just talked to him for a minute, and like that's basically he's like, this is the first time I'm able to come because he was on at Ferret. So it has free things up like that. So the Saturday to the Sunday, but you know, of course we'll never.
It impacts the
The
after
one-
party celebration.
The one year that I probably should have just killed myself on the Monday was because the year the Saints won the Super Bowl,
Yeah.
it just so happened that our parade was the night before.
It was
so
like
within
our
20
second year.
So within 24 hours, we did our parade,
And then
Total
the Saints
success.
Win. Yeah.
wake up the next
We were
day,
so stressed out that night.
Saints win the Super Bowl. Right? It's like, how am I going to ever top this 24 hours?
Right. Right.
Like, it just-
yeah.
It's not going to happen. You know, it's might as well just end it right now. But so I guess
We'll
they're
just have to schedule the next Super Bowl right around
well, no,
the
it's-
parade time.
yeah. Well,
Yeah.
the problem you would want to have is if it ever fell on the same night of the parade. I don't know if that could happen.
No, not with
Well,
us. It's always like the
parade
second or
is-
third or
It's
something.
ended on like, we've had it like on Bacchus Sunday before, where the Super Bowl was.
Yeah.
Depends on when
Yeah.
Mardi
Yeah.
Gras is. Yeah,
So
right.
it is,
Yeah,
it's right in
that
the
could
thick of
happen to
things.
us.
Well, the funny
if it
thing
was
is,
a
the
really
very
early Mardi Gras.
that year, one of our crew members was in this band here called No Tell Motel. And if you're from Metairie, like one of their great songs is called Lakeside Mall, and it's like all about like meeting a girl by the Orange Julius stand. But like when they did their first record, me and this guy had written a song called "The Sunday After the Tit Rex Parade," which was all about like being hungover the day after the Tit Rex parade. But the year we wrote it, that was the year the Saints were in the Super Bowl. It's like, no, they have a different name for this Sunday this year. It's called Saints in the Super Bowl. So like we actually had to table the song for like a whole year. You know what I mean? Because it didn't make any sense. And now it doesn't make sense again because now we're on the Sunday.
yeah.
They'll like rewrite the song again.
BC powder and a big shot cola and bowl shrimp for good measure. I need to lose this hangover so I can better remember. It's the Sunday after that T-Rex parade. I see the crumpled white gloves across the table. I see a tuxedo, a jacket figure 4 in the chair. Woe pants all through the transom. It's the Sunday after that T-Rex parade.
So, where can people follow the parade? Like online?
TRexparade.com is our website, and we try to keep that current with, you know, as it gets closer to Mardi Gras. I think we announced the theme on January 6th,
And Facebook, right?
and Facebook. We have a Facebook page
And Twitter.
and Twitter. My friend Jeremy handles the Twitter
Should be
account.
T Witter.
I don't tweet. And Instagram, we have an Instagram page as well. So, yeah.
The funny thing is we were in a panel one time with King Arthur and Virginia from Muses, and I can't remember who else. But-
Talk and
Was Namtalk up
yeah,
there? But
I can't remember. the
we ended up
others.
meeting our friend Martha, who's an anthropologist from Canada, but she actually studies like Mardi Gras. So like we're one of her like main subjects now, you know.
And she's in the parade now. She's
But it was
finagled her way in.
there was one time I was like trying to see the Indians on Super Sunday by the bayou, and like I just like it's kind of like this older lady, and I just like, yeah, my friend Martha here like studies Mardi Gras for a living, and she was just like, they got a job for that? And I was like, I know. Like, my guidance counselor's an asshole, too. Like, you know? Like, I never got told that was an option. But she literally, like, studies, you know, specifically...
Well, that's what she's studying now.
Yeah, right. Maybe not. But she's specifically studying New Orleans Carnival cruise, especially starting with the smaller ones and, like, all of the, like, social interactions of the cruise.
Yeah, there's a few of them around I can think that have made a living studying Mardi Gras. Obviously, Arthur Hardy, Peggy Laborde. There's
Right.
a few.
Yeah.
That have,
And those,
She's from out of town.
and those, all those people are smarter than me. You know what I mean?
know.
That's what I'm saying.
Frustrates me.
Do you ever see the movie Chappie Goes to Mardi Gras?
Oh yeah,
Oh
absolutely.
my God.
Yeah, yeah.
It's so brilliant.
It's just such a there's that whole part in there.
Where he goes to the
About-
Comus Ball. He.
Well, there's
the best is the very beginning of the film.
Well, the-
Yeah, when he
It's like
wakes up going walking through
lipstick
the
on
house.
the mirror
Yeah.
and the wig.
no,
and
yeah, that's all genius.
hungover.
But there was a parade. There's a crew of clones that started at the CAC. They were kind of like. They were like the parade that kind of I think became Crew de Vue, or was the inspiration for it, because they were pretty like wild. Like in the movie, their theme was like dead celebrities or something, you know, and like that was pretty amazing. But even just some of the small parades that are in that movie that don't exist anymore,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah, that's one of the sad things to see about the history of Mardi Gras is, I mean, I remember when I was a kid, you know, just in Metairie alone, there was like 2.5 weeks of
Yeah.
parades every day, and it wasn't just like one small parade. It was like
No.
most of the time there was like 2 parades rolling.
Right, so
Every
like,
night.
living over there, it's like I would meet my friend Rich over here. We would go to Bottom One Vets, you know, and just post up. That was when they still had the Little General.
Yeah.
Like, you know, if you were 12, you could buy booze. And like that was
A
like,
lot of us went to Bonnet Vets at the day.
oh yeah, I mean that was like the spot, you know.
Yeah.
I mean it's like a
You
like
knew
the
somebody
happening
with a truck
spot.
pulled up right there.
It was like-
sit on the tailgate.
What, you know, that was like amazing. And you, like you said, that was just Metairie, yeah. So yeah, I mean, that, you know, if you go to the Mardi Gras fountain, you can see that. Like,
Yeah.
oh man, that sounds like a cool parade. Wish
Yeah,
that
every year I'd make a point during carnival season to go to the Mardi Gras fountain and just
Yeah.
admire, just to see, you know,
Oh,
like
we
you
keep
said,
talking
seeing
about
all the
getting
parades.
some-
yeah,
getting one out there.
That's a porch
Has to be
idea.
small,
Yeah.
though.
It's to
Yeah,
make
little
the
bitty.
little tiny,
Yeah.
but
The
like out of
shrub,
ceramic,
crown.
like out of tile and everything, with like cement in there, you know, like little tiny.
We're gonna do it. We
That's
get
gonna
lazy
happen one
after
day.
the parade. But,
That would be incredible to have.
yeah. We gotta do it.
So what? I tried to ask earlier. I meant to ask earlier anyway. Do you guys keep your floats? Is there
I do.
a small closet that is your hold in for the entire
I
parade?
mean, our garage now has enough of them that I almost want to do the 50-cent museum for,
Yeah,
you
yeah.
know, people walking by.
We've had auctions where we've auctioned them off. Some people, I'm very precious about my floats. I keep them. I have auctioned some of mine off.
And then a couple have gone to...
Some people destroy theirs and start afresh.
Didn't
They're
one
like, I
go
need
to-
the parts for this for next year. And I'm like, I like to keep mine.
Yeah,
They're
some people that
sentimental to me.
are purist, almost like the Mardi Gras Indians with the suit. Like they just,
Yeah.
after it's over, just to the curb.
We've had auctions. We've had, yeah.
And
People
one of
have
them
tons
is-
of floats in there. I have like
Didn't
at
your-
least 8 or 9 floats in my house, in different parts, not all, in one spot.
Didn't the one float end up in some museum? Oh, no.
One of my floats, the Queen float, is in the Jazz and Heritage Archive.
Right.
We gave a float to Mr. Ronald, who has the House of Dance and Feathers. So they've gone different places, but Some people keep their floats, their special floats. Other people get rid of their floats or destroy them or start again. It just depends, you know. But
We
there's
knew-
a lot of floats out there that still exist. And
We knew one time this guy in the Jefferson City Buzzards that has their headquarters around. Can't. It's like on the tip of my mind. The bar next to F&M's.
It's right next to Genera's.
It's right near F&M's. Uptown.
Oh, I know they have a little warehouse right over
Okay.
here. But I'm not sure if that's their main headquarters or not.
Well, yeah. It's like they have this total HQ that's been there forever. Wait, that bar, I think it's called Grits. The bar
yeah,
next.
yeah.
Right. So it's like somewhere right around there. But they have like the total HQ, like bingo hall, but like on the walls, like all the photographs from all the years, and yeah, it's like amazing. Like, you know, it'd be really awesome if we had that. It's
Yeah,
not
to
gonna
have a-
happen. It's not
Yeah,
gonna
have
happen. But
as full of a history of
Yeah.
if we had that, to have like, you know, all-star floats all around, like that would be great. But
Yeah, I'm friends with the Gallaghers, and they have a corner club out there, and they just celebrated 100 years.
yeah,
So to like look at through there, it's just an old bar they have, and it's just not a private club, but they have photos just covering the walls, and it's kind of funny. You can see me holding the banner. I'm like 8 or 9 or something.
Oh,
watching
wow.
the parade back then.
Yeah.
I'm like, hey, that's me.
nice.
no, that's so great. Yeah.
Sweet.
I
mean,
haven't
that's
done
what's-
it in a long time, but it's funny to pick myself out of those old ones. You know?
No, it's great. So yeah, I mean, I guess ideally we'd like save them all, but there are like,
They're scattered.
yeah, and we've
Yeah,
had.
that's just was curious if y'all made an effort just to keep the year together. Or,
Yeah,
you know.
no, we don't have space. And
Yeah.
if we had like infinite amount of money and space, we would
Right.
definitely have them.
Well, if you had the 50-cent tour,
Yeah,
yeah,
that's true.
you know.
Yeah.
50-cent
Song,
tour,
and
and you would have like a
know.
Everybody bring
person
a
like,
brick.
you know, preserving them all, and but you know,
Climate controlled.
we had, you know, a couple of auctions. I guess it's just like a representative sample will survive.
Yeah.
You know. And then,
Well, speaking of the floats, we do have one here. Do you want to talk a little bit about
Well, that
the theme of the float that we have here?
I think it says a paragon of decency, and that float is from this year, which the theme was a modicum of decency. So this float is from this year. Is made by, sorry, Jeannie Detweiler, Susan Dunlap, and Ann Hull. And you can see, well, the theme was a modicum of decency, so that kind of had, we were kind of making a commentary on just people being more decent in this time, in this day and age. Just have a small modicum of decency. That's all we're asking. And of course, who is better to represent that than Mr. Rogers? And they made this all themselves. I mean,
I like the tiny
he's
bag.
he looks like he might be like some kind of doll, but they made his
And, like-
head and cardigan, and
of good detail.
it's huge.
Yeah,
And then the float itself is, you can see kind of a nod to the Mid-City foil.
Yeah.
They did that. They're from New Orleans, so.
and a lot of times when kids would make the floats, they would use foil.
And then it has one of his puppets, a few of his puppets, Meow Meow or whatever. And yeah, this was a big hit. People loved it.
It's like you're saying, typically, like, the person who made this float, like, quite possibly had beads like the ones hanging up there. Like, maybe that would have been there throughout.
Yeah, and this one, I like this one too, because it has like the little spinny bead holders, like a rider on there is
Yeah.
pulling
Yeah.
them. So yeah, this is,
Do they actually make the tiny bag?
yeah. We actually,
Pretty great.
we've made those bags in the past, a bunch of us. Like, you take the big
take a bag,
bags
wanna cut it up.
and you make a little pattern and make the small bags and toss them. So that's kind of like a throw from the past, but they made it for this, which is
I
great.
mean, that's the other funny thing, too, is, like, our parade does have a lot of, like, for lack of a better word, creative types, like, you know, artists and musicians. We even have a few members that actually build floats for, like, Blaine Kern.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of people in the parade who are not, you know, an artist of any type in any, like, known genre, but have gotten really good at making neat. Because if you saw the floats from like year one, like a lot of them were like pretty basic, including the one that I made. That like no way would be permitted in now. You know what I mean? But like people have just evolved.
Standards have gone
people
up
have evolved their
considerably.
techniques, you know.
Yeah.
And like, you know, people go out to Jefferson Variety. That's what it's called, right? And you know, it's just crazy. People have gotten better and better at their.
I mean, they're small floats, but I mean, it's not like they're lots of money to make. But like, you're always like running out for another thing. Like, I gotta go and blah blah blah. And like, you know, it's just.
Well, with the detail on them, I mean, yeah, I can see where.
There's a lot of supplies.
You know,
for
a
sure.
lot of
The
supplies.
glue
Supplies,
gun
and
is
also
huge.
like you learn as you go along. If you make them over the years, what works and what doesn't, what holds up on the streets of New Orleans. I mean,
Nothing.
I've had years where like stuff just crumbles. Like in the first couple of years, and it's like you reused the wrong glue. You thought glue gun would work for that, and that didn't work at all.
Yeah.
You hit a little pothole or something, so you kind of over the years kind of start figuring out like, okay, I need to tie things down and like anchor things, and like, you know, you just get better at making these tiny little tough floats that can handle the streets.
Have y'all ever had a situation where rain or
Oh my goodness, where's the wood? We not
Never
this
had a-
past year, but the year before, it was so stressful because we really can't roll in the rain. It rained and then it kind of just stopped, and it was a little drizzly as we started. And we had umbrellas. Everyone was like, get black umbrellas, and then it was fine. And then I think it drizzled the night before the Saints Super Bowl, year 2.
Or it was-
But at that
and
point,
it
we
was
didn't
cold.
really care as much because our floats were like kind of more rudimentary. They weren't as like this.
yeah, I mean, this is literally a piece
I
of
mean,
art.
it's drizzled.
Yeah, you
It's
can't-
drizzled on us a few times, but we've never had like
Full- we
Bacchus.
can't.
Like
We just
Bacchus last
can't.
year. There's no way we could.
I don't know what. Every year, it's like we're watching the weather like that week,
And that's the
like
crazy-
super stressed out. Like, oh my god, like you know.
The crazy thing is, you just know statistically, there's going to be a year where that happens.
Yeah,
You know,
But then
and
every
and
year, you just like let it just not be this year.
right.
just like hurricane season, just not this year.
Not this year.
Just not this year.
I don't know what we would do. We probably.
Oh, we rode last year. It was the same way. It rained for 3 days solid coming up to it, and then the skies just parted.
Yeah.
Gave us a nice night. We're like, oh, thank you.
And
which,
then you-
which parade?
We did Excalibur.
Excalibur.
Oh, okay,
Yeah.
okay.
And then you
And
have
the next
parades
day
like,
it's still on.
like Nick's has like the curse where it like rains in them like every year.
Yeah,
Like if they've how many years they've been in existence? Like 10.
yeah, something like that.
It's
I
probably
mean,
rained like 7 or 8 times.
Yeah,
or
yeah.
10.
There's a number of times I luckily catch Nick's right in front of a friend of mine's house. So if it's raining, we can go in her house.
It's so weird.
Back up
But
on the porch.
yeah, it's
It is.
it seems like every year.
They've got to like. They need to like exorcise the demon or something, a rain demon.
Just
but yeah.
make their floats have umbrellas
Yeah,
on the
yeah.
whole thing.
Just make them like out of plexiglass or whatever.
They have started just throwing umbrellas though,
Yeah.
which is pretty good. It's like a crew umbrella. You're like,
Yeah.
oh, all right, there we go.
Yeah.
So
Just-
again, I want to thank y'all for coming on with us.
Oh, thanks for having
Yeah,
us. It
thanks for
was
having
fun.
Again, y'all are rolling on, I think it's the 4th,
No, the 9th.
the 9th.
The February 9th would be the Sunday. We have, you know, we have to do all the logistics, but yeah, that's what we're hoping and planning on for next year. Yep. So,
Yeah, thanks for having us.
Yeah, thank y'all
I
for
mean,
coming.
you
Yeah,
know
it's
it is.
great.
You can just talk about Mardi Gras forever
Oh yeah, absolutely, absolutely.
if you're an enthusiast.
So be sure to check them out, trexparade.com.
trxparade.com, yes.
You can also see them on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. Again, thank you for coming on. Till the next show, signing out. See you on the route. Happy Mardi Gras! Thank you again for tuning in to us tonight. Also, thank you to tonight's guests. Be sure to check out our guests. We have the links below in the description here on the audio and video podcast. And also, you can follow us if you like what you're seeing.
It's on Facebook at Parade Route Tales.
Yeah.
Or
And also, we're on Instagram at Parade Route Tales. And on Twitter, it's at Parade Route Tail. If you're not subscribed already, subscribe to the YouTube channel, youtube.com/The Scoop Show Network. We're trying to put as much content out there. We've been putting pictures and sharing different
small
events.
videos,
And
little clip hits of what's coming up, future soon events of our guests. So, yeah, keep an eye out.
yeah, so, thank you for tuning in. Signing out. We'll see you on the route.
Happy Mardi Gras. All right.